Hello and welcome back, everyone, to LCS Academy. 2 games down, we got 1 more to go, and that's going to be Cloud9 Academy versus Team Liquid Academy. A matchup that is very homely to us, Joshi.
Yeah, it's something that we know all too well, having done Team Liquid Academy as so much. You know, if anybody remembers back then when all the teams were doing their own stuff, that was us. That was me and this guy, that guy. Yeah, now I'm pointing the right direction. You know what's going on, everyone.
And of course, we had
a good time.
We had our rivals, Magical and Sam, over on the Cloud9 stream. So, you know, them not being here to cast, we could just talk all the mad trash we want. But obviously, Cloud9 is doing a little bit better than Team Liquid at the moment. Both of them standing pretty high in the standings so far. I mean, with Cloud9, it is a 3-3-2 record, and with Team Liquid, 4-2-2. So I misspoke. Let's go, Team Liquid. No, I'm joking.
TLTF up, boys. Alright, anyway, before we get too much of trash talking, we do have to talk a little bit about Cloud9, right? This is a roster that, as we previously identified and as Diamond just talked about, is a roster that everybody should be looking to beat, right? You have multiple players who have a lot of LCS experience, right? You have other people who came over from Oceania, where they often had opportunities to go to Worlds, as well as have opportunities to win regional finals. And so far, they've been looking really, really good in spring, but have been floundering a little bit in summer. They've kind of lost some of their footing.
Yeah, it's been weird watching that because in the spring we saw Darshan kind of be a standout player for the squad, kind of take that leadership role. We're not seeing that as much anymore with the way Cloud9 has been kind of running. I do like a lot of the talent that Cloud9 has. You know, Schernfire, we absolutely adore him when it comes to NA Amateur, but not just that, people kind of forget he's played on a world stage-esque type situation. He was with Direwolves when they played in the play-ins back in 2017 and 2018. Who else was part of that? King as well. So a lot of these players have a lot of international experience all over the place. They're very prominent as we do head into the draft. We could still break down Team Liquid as we get through this. Karthus and Gwen band away.
You know who knows them really well? The coach of Team Liquid, Jake Spawn Tiberi, has been having a lot of opportunity to really highlight what all of his players can do over on the Team Liquid side. And this time, we have to remember, Jenkins has been having a little bit of opportunity to play up in LCS, and so that means Dokla going to be taking a spot here in Academy. And Dokla and Jenkins do a lot of different things. You have to remember that Jenkins has been playing in Academy for a while now, but he's always had a little bit of an unusual champion pool. You know, we typically think of him as playing things like Kennen and Aatrox more than anything else, and that means that he has surprising things that he can do to a lot of other compositions.
So Team Liquid happy to just first pick that Xin Zhao for the time being. As you're talking about Dokla, it's an interesting mix to see go, seeing Bob Jenkins go over to the LCS roster, seeing Dokla here now, who was brought over by Wildcard. Shout out to Myra Davis. Dokla is a very experienced player, so he still brings a lot to the squad of Team Liquid Academy, as the lock-ins are going to be Senna and Karma for C9.
Wow, they were definitely showing their hand pretty early in terms of what they actually want to do. The Senna, you know, you can still play it as fasting, you can still play it as a support. There's a lot of things that you can do with this champion, so it does mean that they are going to be having a very powerful backline between the Senna and the Karma. And of course, Senna can also build Divine Sunder, so is pretty decent at chunking down tanks and also just being available to do a lot of damage and a lot of healing, which now scales with lethality. So it's a very strong committal, but I think it's also going to be very strong.
Lock-in for Team Liquid Academy is going to be Nautilus, so you do have a response to that in terms of engaging. You can get that hook. Hopefully we can see those Diamond S hooks from last time. And Xin Zhao, great follow-up as well, so you have a lot of potential there for that support jungle duo to kind of leave their mark on the Rift, to say the least, as the next lock-in is going to be LeBlanc for Team Liquid Academy.
So Team Liquid is definitely choosing one style to play with. Oftentimes when you see the other team commit to a backline style of composition with the Senna Karma or anything similar, you have to make a decision. Do you want to try and outrange them? Do you want to try and fight them in ways that they can't fight back? Or do you want to just get on top of them? And Team Liquid are saying, alright, we're going to do the latter. We're going to try and get on top of all of your backline really, really heavily and commit very hard to that. And Cloud9 just need to find ways to prevent prevent Team Liquid from doing that as effectively, and Trundle literally puts a wall between his backline and your front line.
Can I just say that, man, having no AC in California summer sucks. going through all of that, we are getting to the second phase of the draft. Callista gets banned away. And yeah, so far, so good for Cloud9 Academy. I do like the way their draft is shaping up, but I do feel like it's almost falling into some of the issues we were seeing earlier with, I believe it was the Evil Geniuses draft, where they had just no damage really backing it up.
Yeah, and Team Liquid right now have entirely burst damage on their roster. They don't have a whole lot of sustained, so it would be very, very difficult to actually kill Dr. Mundo if it was selected. So I do like the fact that it was taken away here. And as Jace is getting banned away from Dokla, it is another tool that they are not going to have in order to, one, play the ranged game, but also have a little bit of extra dive. I don't think Jace is the best diver that they could have banned away, but it does limit Team Liquid and force them into this close range style of play. They're not going to have any kind of real poke to fall back on outside of maybe an Ezreal. Okay, they won't have anything.
I do know both of these teams like playing Jace quite a bit. Darshan, it's like one of his specials, so it does make a little bit of sense to me to go for the Jace, even if it's not like situationally relevant. Still, though, more bans go through. The Nars banned away, the Mundo that you mentioned earlier. Lissandra is picked here. Interesting.
I mean, it's a good counter pick to the LeBlanc. It recently got a couple of small buffs, so I believe it was the Q, in order to give it a little bit more extra damage. And I believe it actually hits a breakpoint where it didn't before, where you get 2 Qs with a minion dematerializer. You're able to 2-shot the back line, whereas that was not an option previously. And this Jhin pick, rather interesting to me as well, because we were just talking about how Team Liquid really trying to dive extremely heavily into the back line of Cloud9. Jhin doesn't really do that. I know Kai'Sa and Samira have kind of fallen out of favor a little bit, but this Jhin is going to be playing from so far away that I don't actually know how effectively he's going to be participating in these team fights unless he gets really far ahead.
The last lock-in is going to be Renekton, so taking the Gator over towards the top lane. Should be one more pick to come out of Cloud9 Academy. Going to see what their counter pick response is. Man, the Lissandra actually feels like a tease now. Just, you know, ice-based champion. So hot over here.
I mean, you got the Trundle too. You got plenty of ice. I mean, you got a very, like, yellowish side
Greenish,
of Team Liquid
bluish.
and very bluish green coming out from Cloud9. So, ultimately, we're going to see this big back and forth between these two styles, right? Team Liquid have a lot of pick tools that they can find individual fights, and if they find individual ranged members out, they're going to be able to blow them up really effectively and be able to find advantages that way. But if Cloud9 is able to bring their members to bear and actually have like a full-on team fight, it is very hard to siege against them. It is very hard to get to objective second against them, and it is very hard to do objectives while Cloud9 are there. So Team Liquid, they've done the first part. They've picked themselves some hard engage in Isla's Nautilus. We'll see if they can do the second part by actually taking these fights.
You know, it's actually really frustrating comp to go against Cloud9's composition. Yeah, you think you get past one part, you got to deal with the slow of Karma, you got to deal with the shield boost going on, you know, all the zone control you get from not just the pillar, but the Lissandra ultimate. Gangplank is a champion who loves to zone out. So there's a lot of frustration that Team Liquid are going to have to deal with. I think they have good tools to try and handle that, and I'm sure it's going to be quite a bit of a matchup.
The lucky thing for Team Liquid is that most of their champions that would normally care about these slows have tools to dash over it, right? They're typically slow fields, and you just like go directly through it. You don't really care at that spot. So it is of mixed usefulness for Cloud9, and so it really will come down to this big interplay between which of these teams are going to be able to play this style better. I do want to highlight that King is going for the fasting style Senna. It is going to have a little bit reduced souls based on the fact that they are playing with Isles, who is playing Karma, which is going to be getting fewer souls dropped than if they were a melee champion.
Now the start out coming from both junglers. Going to be a blue buff start coming out of Surenfire. Red buff start coming out of Romeo. Romeo has been decently stand out as these last couple of games. You definitely got to give him some credit. It's been a while since seeing him more prominently, and you know, we do remember he used to be part of TSM back in the day under Brig. But you know, he's been shaping up as he's gone in and out of Academy and LCS, and slowly defining much more as a jungle.
A lot of people are looking at him as like one of the. Okay, Dokla might be dead here. He's gonna take a lot of damage.
Oh. It's a friendly exchange,
Not
a pat
dead.
on the back.
A friendly couple of punches between friends. What's a bullet to the back in top lane, right? But a lot of people are looking at Greg as one of these junglers that is on the verge of, being LCS. And the big difference is that he doesn't play the same style as a lot of the other junglers in that conversation. People look at Contracts and Anda in particular as some of these names. They're like, yeah, we kind of want to see them back in LCS because they're very aggressive. They're carry style players. But Armeo tends to be a bit more supportive. He's trying to help out the rest of his team. And even though he's on the Xin Zhao, we'll see he'll probably going to make a lot of decisions that is going to highlight that, like giving over kills to make sure that other people can get fed.
A lot of early game control coming out of Surenfire. Starting his invade, excuse me. He heads over towards the jungle of Team Liquid, but not going to really do too much else after that. Armeo's going to slip out the side and go straight after mid lane. Meanwhile, a fight breaking out over on the bot side. Ayla and King just really delivering it to each other. King not really getting the better of that trade, but mid lane, here comes the fight, here comes the trade. Darshan will be able to show up and get a lot of damage with those barrels. That's going to force 2 recalls for sure. Armeo, he's indifferent to that one, still wants to farm.
Yeah, jungler privilege means you take this big trade, you don't get anything out of it, you walk into your jungler, hit a camp, and suddenly you're back to full HP. On the other hand, it is going to be a flash from Xin Zhao, traded away for the teleport coming out from Darshan, but he's able to get that back away. He was able to crash the waves, and now Dokla giving him a lot of respect on the fact that he doesn't know where Surenfire is. If they had seen Surenfire walk up towards the top half of the map or walk towards the other side, we definitely would have seen Dokla try and actually crash this, but instead he's giving a lot of respect to Cloud9, says, I don't know where Surenfire is and I don't want to risk giving over a kill and a potential 1v2.
It was pretty risky to say the least. I would suspect that they had an idea that Surenfire was going over towards the bot side river because Scuttle Crab hadn't been taken in a long time. But now you're just pretty much guessing where he's pathing to. You don't really know the wreck route. Hopefully a deep ward can get in there sometime soon for Team Liquid to be able to spot that pathing, because Surenfire is over towards his top side and Dokla is pushing heavy into his enemy turret.
Dokla really needs to make sure that this wave bounces off the turret. He needs to continue pushing it in order to allow it to move to a more safe position, but Darshan doing a good job at trying to make sure it stays thin so that Surenfire has an opportunity to go for this fight. We're also seeing why this Lissandra is a good counter pick to the LeBlanc. You take the Aftershock whenever LeBlanc jumps in, you press W on Lissandra, root her down, get the Aftershock proc there, so you have a bunch of extra armor and magic resistance, and then you're able to trade back rather effectively against the Electrocute of LeBlanc. So Copy showing why this is a good matchup and potentially why we might see a little bit more of it soon.
Ooh, but Harry, getting the better of a lot of these trades, can get his aggression in and wave clear at the same time, really, just because Lissandra's just that much of a short-range champion. The ping's starting to come out towards the Scuttle Crab now. It's going to be Armeo trying to make his way over there. Surenfire wants nothing to do with that, at least for right now. He's going to continue focusing on farming his bot side jungle.
So now we're seeing the flip side of what we were talking about earlier, right? Darshan is one who now wants to get this wave to crash. He wants it to bounce off the top lane turret so that he's not at risk of going down. There's no teleport from Harry, so he can't instantly join, but it's hard to know where Armeo is, and that's part of why we're seeing Copy come up here, just in case Xin Zhao is here, so they can try and turn things on its head. But I think we're probably going to get a 2v2.
Ooh, they were expecting the recall to come out of Copy, and Copy showing up towards the top lane. Dokla tries to flash, gets caught out by Lissandra ultimate, but is going to pop the Dominus. Here comes the Cannon Barrage, getting a lot of damage onto Dokla. Dokla so low, but so short range. It's Lissandra. Copy cannot finish the job, and now Harry is here to grab Darshan. First blood going the way of Team Liquid. Now Copy underneath the tower all by his lonesome. Who's going to be the one to grab turret aggro? It's going to be Harry. Harry jumping over the way with the distortion will grab the double kill, but Armeo falls in the process, giving 1 kill right back to Cloud9. Dokla will make his escape.
That's what happens when you bring people to the fight first. Harry was the first one to move, and Surenfire was a little bit slow, and that's what this tempo advantage is going to do. It's going to get you an extra kill. Armeo does go down. He's going to be losing this grab for it, but at the end of the day, Team Liquid as a whole are going to be giving 2 kills over to Harry's LeBlanc, and we all know how scary this champion can be when it starts rolling. It already has 4 stacks on the Dark Seal, and now it's going to have enough money to go back and get an extra component as we see a repeat of this fight. You're going to be noticing that Copy comes over, but Armeo just behind, and you'll have to notice how effectively Dokla is able to play here. He gets enough space between them. The only thing that you could criticize is he didn't get his ult off just quite yet, but he uses the extra Fury in order to walk forward, get a little bit of extra healing off of the Q, and then from there, Armeo just has enough left in the tank alongside Harry to pick up their first kill, and because they know Surenfire isn't here just quite yet, they have a very small window they know where they can go for this kill.
This tower jungling went a little bit more disastrous than I was expecting, but a lot of that is thanks to Surenfire just flashing over the wall and putting down that pillar. We'll give 1 kill back, which is nice for Cloud9, but it's even nicer if you're Team Liquid right now. You had said it earlier, those 2 kills going on to LeBlanc. That is a snowball champion. She loves getting those kills and making it result into even more. Looking over at the bot lane now. A little bit of aggression coming out of Ayla as Ayla goes for the autos to get in those roots. Still trying to find more. Ayla has to start to back off now. King taking quite a bit of damage in the trade as well. But overall goes neutral.
That was an interesting trade coming out from Yon and Ayla, right? Because you have to remember that Jhin is one of the few AD carries that have the reload mechanic, right? Every single time you go for one of these trades, you have to determine, 1, how many bullets do you have left in the chamber, and 2, how do you want to play because of that? They only had the 4th bullet left in that spot, and they went for a little bit of a longer trade, so Yon lost a lot of time just putting bullets back in the gun, and it means that King and Isles were able to actually come out ahead of that when the fight ends up shaking out, and it means that Yon and Hyla might not be paying enough attention to this small mechanic in order to maximize the efficiency of their champions.
There go Team Liquid, setting up for the Rift Herald. Able to grab that with no resistance whatsoever. Surenfire's already on the bot side of the map. Pings are coming out towards Drake. Surenfire doesn't really have too much priority over there to contest it, and still have Harry versus Copy with the LeBlanc versus Lissandra matchup. But no real emphasis to go after the Drake just yet. You are getting the ping of assistance coming out from Surenfire. So possibly getting some idea to head towards that direction sometime soon.
Really want to point out a couple of item traces that the teams have built for themselves. First off, you have Harry picking up the Mercury Treads as the first item for themselves. So obviously there's a lot of crowd control coming out from Lissandra. You have a root, you have a stun built into your kit, and that will reduce a lot of that. The effectiveness will not be as heavy. But it'll also give you a lot more freedom to just go for a lot of these trades, because you know that Lissandra is very reliant upon base damages for everything that they're able to do. If you just cut that by an extra like 10% during every single trade, that really changed a lot of the breakpoints in the fights that you want to take.
Got a flank coming out of Copy here. The rest of Team Liquid on the main entrance coming after this Drake. Copy just waiting for him to claw over the wall. Team Liquid yet to engage, and there it is. It's taken away. It's going to be Darshan who gets it with the cannon barrage. As now the ultimate going to be used out of Copy. Buying some damage, buying some time. A lot of damage going back. Here comes the ult. Depth charge able to knock up Copy. Copy will not fall. King falling low as well, but King returns fire, taking down Armeo. It's a 1-for-1 trade. Now Cloud9 are the ones who are pursuing, are the ones who are being the aggressors, but the hook comes out of Ayla to return fire onto Surenfire, and Yon will take one. Overtaking the other is gonna be Harry, and now Isles on the run as Team Liquid just clean up this team fight against Cloud9. One more auto will do it, one more spell does it. Harry, unstoppable.
That is 4 kills picked up during the last situation. Okay, only 3 kills going over to Harry, but he's currently 5-0-1 on this LeBlanc, 10 stacks already on the Dark Seal, and even though Cloud9 pick up the Dragon, they're going to be losing more across the map.
And here we go, a top lane fight breaking out. Harry able to teleport up, goes right after Darshan, gets the chains in, but the flash is going to break the tether. Now Copy will show up in time to provide some assistance. He doesn't have his ultimate this time, though, so Harry feels confident trying to finish off this kill, but can't get the damage to bring down Darshan.
Darshan just running away, knows that he's going to be able to put enough space, has enough movement speed, and is going to survive. But as we watch this fight again, watch how Harry actually plays a lot of this, because he starts off just trying to fight Copy, but you know, you always have to play like an opportunist as LeBlanc. You can't just go for every single time that your W is off cooldown. And while he waits for this last shot to come out from Jhin, He's looking for opportunities, and he sees King gets tagged by that last shot, and it's an opportunity to turn things around. And like Diamond said, coordination might be a myth if everybody just knows what they're supposed to do. Surefire now put low, and Harry's going to be able to pick it up as we return to live.
The root goes on to Isles. Isles takes a lot of damage. Half health for both supports. Jan positioning forward, tries to posture up, but can't find too much other than isolating King from his support. So that will be able to deny a minion or two. Just going to deny a minion as Isles is able to freeze the rest.
Alright, so Cloud9 a little bit down at this point, but definitely not out as they have about a 2,000 gold advantage. And crucially, it's almost all going to be on Harry during the next several minutes. He's going to be the one that everybody's going to have to pay attention to, as I feel like this Rift Herald was one of those where it's like, oh crap guys, I am running out of time, I need to press the button, and hey, congratulations Dokla, you happen to be the lane I am closest to at the time. So it's still going to be nice, right? You're still going to be giving a kill's worth of gold over to your team when it crashes because of all the plates, and Dokla might be able to get one more auto attack. Yeah, there it is, the last bit of damage. That's going to be, I believe, two plates at the very least, and Dokla definitely going to be enjoying the free influx of gold that he didn't work for.
Yeah, Dokla looking good on this top side, all thanks to that Rift Herald coming out. Armeo going over towards the bot side, red jungle, kind of just farming around over here. You are seeing a recall come out from Isles. Curious if he's going to take the roam off this, as he do have Fire over towards his red buff right now. So the playmaking, keep a close eye on where it's going to be and where Fire is going to be on this map.
Fire currently on the top half of the map, potentially looking to go up top lane. And you always got to remember that Trundle is particularly effective against compositions that only have one tank. But there are multiple people who can be rather tanky here, and Team Liquid, they just run in.
Ooh, Fire caught out in the bush, pops the ultimate, will be able to stay alive, stealing back some of that health, that armor, that magic resist, but the curtain call, it opens up. It's Fire, and will find a shot onto Copy, already claimed a kill, as Team Liquid try and find more, forcing Cloud9 out of their own jungle.
Ooh, Harry is very low, though. He doesn't want to give over any kills. He doesn't want to give over this big shutdown that he has, but he will pick up this blue buff, and with a minute left before the dragon, you generally want to get these recalls in now so that you can so that you can be in a good spot when the dragon actually spawns. This is about the last chance people will have to recall, and you'll notice no teleports available for anyone on the map. So if you want to be at the dragon, you got to recall now.
There's no teleport for Darshan as well, and this is going to give Dokla a little bit of moment of opportunity to try and take down this turret, take the recall, and show up for that dragon fight if they so need it. Rift Herald has also spawned on the map, so that's going to be another option, but it almost looks like Team Liquid have their eyes set on Drake as they head towards the bottom quadrant of the map.
I send everybody there, and Darshan, he hasn't started walking, so remember, it takes 35 seconds to get from one lane to the opposite side neutral objective. It's going to take 35 seconds for Darshan to walk down, doesn't have access to his ultimate, and Dokla takes 25 seconds to get from your base from recalling in order to get to these objectives. That's an extra 10 seconds that Darshan will not be available. Team Liquid starting us up, they have control of the map, and while they're doing it on vision, it's not going to matter. Cloud9 are not in a spot to contest, and the extra recall, the extra tempo that Team Liquid have picked up for themselves, gonna reward themselves with this Infernal Dragon.
A beautiful play to come out. It was very, very simple, but elegant nonetheless as they take that top tower, take the recall, have Dokla show up towards Drake, and be able to take that as well. It's an Infernal Drake, mind you, so you still get that damage boost. Someone like LeBlanc is absolutely gonna love that.
And crucially, Dokla's not losing anything either. He didn't have the wave crash into his turret while he was down interacting with this dragon, so he's going to be in a very exciting spot overall because he didn't lose anything. He just gets to make sure that his team gets the dragon, and now, after that is done, people can rotate up and potentially come and get the second Rift Herald as they look to potentially extend their lead.
And Team Liquid are very textbook about the way they do this. Every time an objective's up, they all take their recalls and they all start putting their vision towards a quadrant of the map to be able to grab that objective. It's very simple, it's very textbook, but it's so effective against Cloud9 thus far, who haven't been really able to read where Team Liquid's been going.
Cloud9 I mean, they're still very much in it, right? They have a lot of scaling elements in their composition. Trundle will scale rather well. The Gangplank will scale very effectively, and King on the Senna technically scales infinitely. So we'll have a lot of tools available to them as the game goes along. They want to abuse the fact that they have a range advantage against most of the members of Team Liquid, but I can't imagine they feel strong enough to fight just quite yet, at least until they have better ways to lock down the LeBlanc and maybe some magic resistance.
Look at Team Liquid all on this top side, clearing out everything they can while sending the LeBlanc over towards the bot side. And it seems like Cloud9 are just responding right now. You do have a pretty nice window to get a lot of uncontested farm onto Darshan, so this is going to get him scaling quite decently. I'm curious how long you can keep that up, though, before Team Liquid try and make plays on the map. I'm hoping it's a window opportunity for Cloud9.
Yeah, we definitely have at least one very vocal analyst here in the amateur scene that will say that, hey, you don't want to take down these outer turrets early on because it just gives your opponents time to freeze. But the question is, you know, are you just going to assume that the other team isn't going to do anything with the extra priority? Like, if you're freezing, it means you're not on the rest of the map. So Team Liquid can bring Dokla to bear in places that Cloud9 could not with Darshan. But it all comes down to how effectively you actually play with your players, right? Like, where are you going to put them? Where are you going to allocate? What are the objectives that you're going to be prioritizing? And so far, Team Liquid haven't done a whole lot since Darshan did have that freeze just a moment ago.
Dokla was able to catch the top wave, getting pushed out by Darshan, so not going to have that situation. The analyst you were talking about, you know, good old Wolverine. I know exactly who you're mentioning. But, yeah.
See, I try to be subtle.
I ain't being subtle about that. 2 minutes until Ocean Drake spawns, and Team Liquid kind of posturing up around that area, just getting vision control for the time being. And they still got a turret in the bot lane outer, mid lane outer to deal with, as well as Rift Herald, so keep a close eye on where Armeo's going to put down Shelly.
Still got it for a little while, has some freedom. One of the big things that you always got to pay attention to in these games is which mid lane turret are still up, right? Because it's hard to get mid lane priority while the other team still has their turret, because your wave can only push so far as, okay. Yeah, but if you can take down the structure, then it means that you can actually push the wave, you can get real tempo there, and force your opponents to respond, or lose golden experience as the minions crash into the second turret.
See right here, I'm pretty sure Armeo's gonna put down the Rift Herald around the same time Dragon's gonna spawn, just for the sake of trying to give Cloud9 something to be distracted with. You can see they're taking the recalls. They got a good minute before that Drake spawn. They're taking the reset right now, and they're gonna prepare for it. Cloud9 are, however, as well.
Are you familiar with the concept of a distraction Carnifex, Eric?
I'm not. Please inform me.
Okay, so do you know what 40k is?
Red team's turret has been destroyed.
Warhammer 40k?
Yes, I do.
Right, like super far future, and there's this race there called the Tyranids, right? And they're kind of like Zerg, if you're familiar with StarCraft. And distraction Carnifex is, if you're ever playing Tyranids, you have a Carnifex, which is just like this really big monster that you have on your team. And it's a distraction, and you just send it like up the middle of the field, right? It's a distraction. You gotta kill it. But the thing is, you can't ignore it, because if you ignore it and the Carnifex gets to your lines, then it eats you alive. Shelly is the exact same thing. Shelly is a distraction Carnifex. You throw it down, you can't ignore it. You have to deal with it. But it is still just a distraction from what the real objective is. You're actually just trying to take this Ocean Dragon, and you see the distraction Carnifex already got the charge off in the mid lane, doesn't take the turret down, but if Team Liquid had been a bit more proactive with it, they probably could have gotten both of the objectives that they were looking for, and now instead they're using Dokla as a distraction Carnifex.
So Dokla over on the top side, still split pushing. Cloud9 are going to peel off the Dragon, so they are kind of wasting some precious moments here. Dokla's teleport is going through, so Team Liquid, they want to take a team fight. Armeo's by himself, going to use the ultimate to get rid of some of that damage as Harry jumps in, gets caught by the Lissandra ultimate. Dokla on the flank, though. So much AoE damage. Out comes the cannon barrage from Darshan, trying to dissuade Team Liquid from going on. Harry gets critically low, will survive, though, as the curtain call comes out. Not going to find much else but a Drake for Team Liquid. Intense exchange there, 1-for-1, but Team Liquid going to come out ahead.
Interesting fight going through. We saw how much both teams were dancing around the choke points like we were talking about in our first series of the day, and both teams benefited hugely from it and suffered because of it. There was so much fighting here in all of this AoE. Doko was able to get a ton of damage down on everybody as he flashes over here, so he is where you see it right now, and like you saw in the main thing. But the thing is, you also have so much damage coming through from Gangplank's barrels, from the ultimate, and both teams end up giving over so much to the other side by playing in this choke. And it's interesting to me that neither team managed to find a significant advantage from it, but Team Liquid is far enough ahead and they got enough position at the end that they were able to grab themselves a second dragon.
5K lead for Team Liquid now, being one Drake ahead. 2-0 when it comes to towers. Team Liquid are playing the map a little bit better right now than Cloud9 can, as Cloud9, they're just trying to survive this early game that Team Liquid are bringing forth on them. Tower down in the bot lane, tower down in the mid lane, just in the top lane, excuse me, only waiting for that mid lane tower to fall to get all those outers, to get the trifecta for Team Liquid.
You really want to pick it up sooner than later, right? You want to open this up, especially before you really start looking for opportunities to go for the Baron, just because it removes a sanctuary for Cloud9 to fall back to. And now, as they're bringing everybody here, Harry chilling off on the side, knows that he can blow up almost everybody. He might even be able to 100-0 Surenfire if he's able to get a full combo off on him. And maybe not quite yet. He's only got 12 stacks on the Magi Soul Stealer. He will very quickly get to the point where he can just kill anybody he wants to on the other side.
Now Darshan trying to defend this poor bot lane inner turret, but here comes the rest of Team Liquid. You don't want to mess with that. Gangplank can do a lot of damage, but he can't take a lot as well. So another tower goes down in the bot lane. Team Liquid 4-0 for towers now.
Nil.
Nil.
When did you start saying nil?
I've said nil a lot. Said it back in the Ascension days.
It's a
Just
long
it's not
time ago.
I don't think usually. You know, we don't usually have games where it's like something nothing in turrets.
True. Yeah, I'm
least
just
this long.
surprised that it's coming out at this point, because it is a situation where, you know, Cloud9 have... I don't think... Can you say nil turrets?
I'm saying it. I can. Nil turrets.
Alright, well, nil turrets. Alright, okay. Well, Cloud9 currently have nil turrets at this point, and they're doing a little bit better in the rest of the regards of the map, because they don't have nil dragons. They don't have nil kills. But they do have opportunities to try and turn things around, right? The lead that Team Liquid have now is smaller than the one that we saw 100 Thieves have at the beginning of the day, right? And that means that Cloud9 have an easier chance to take these fights in these choke points than CLG did, right? They have big opportunities to just lock down individual members, trap everybody in all of the AoE, and allow Senna and Gangplank just free hit throughout these entire fights.
And Darshan is at a point in his itemization where he can do a lot of damage with those barrels. The Trinity Force is now completed. So you do see a rough situation coming in for Team Liquid. It is very slow play. They're still getting those advantages, but Cloud9 are still very much a threat, as you've been stating throughout that last little bit right there.
True. And so as we start to see them move around, it's going to be very important to watch, one, where Harry is during these team fights, because just as we saw previously with, like, Tien and Kenvi, when they're able to find these flanks, they're able to disrupt the front-to-back style of team fight that Cloud9 is looking to go for. But if they're just going to have to, like, dive through the front line, Harry's going to have a much more difficult time because, one, Cloud9 are going to be ready to react to it, and two, they already have their battle line set up, so more people are going to be able to effectively react whenever he goes for things. So now that the mid lane turret is down, I want to see Team Liquid start to take more control of vision so that Harry can more easily find all of these flank opportunities.
We'll see if he can set up in prime position if Team Liquid will do that, but what I see right now is 30 seconds left on that Dragon timer. You love to call it the team fight timer. I believe these teams do love as well. I'm just slipping on my words all day. But it's going to be Team Liquid or posturing up towards that Dragon side a little bit faster than Cloud9.
You'll notice that Harry has his teleport available. In fact, all the teleports on the map are currently available, so Harry will be able to pick up these top lane minions and then go mid. Jan should be far enough away that he's not in any real danger, just a little turret put up, or the pillar, and now Dokla, we'll see where he wants to teleport. He has a couple ways in behind, and I don't think he really wants to take a front to back. He might teleport over to where Darshan is now.
I'm watching Darshan very closely in this next team fight. The top laners with their flanks have been monumental. Now here he's engaged, looking to go into Armeo, but the hook lands on the copy. Copy getting so low, will be able to use the ultimate in time to stay alive, but here comes Dokla. He's on the back line. He's going after Darshan, but he can't get enough damage in just yet. Now Jan going closer and closer, trying to pick up the stragglers who are getting lower and lower, but Dokla will do that instead as the Gator dives on in, picks up a kill onto one of the members of Cloud9. Health bar is getting lower and lower, but they're playing this so well. Team Liquid trying to survive, but Jan no longer has a front line, has to retreat. Harry dives in with a double distortion, but cannot pick up the kill just yet. Throws out the chains, lands it onto Isles. Isles is still sitting healthy enough, and these fights are just so close. A 1-for-1 trade. No one in prime position to go after the Drake just yet, but King gets a bit of damage in, going after Armeo. Jan and Dokla are still having a decent amount of health to work here. Harry is now on the flank, waiting for the distortion. Here it comes, double distortion comes out, but he is slaughtered by Cloud9. Now Cloud9 feel the momentum, and they're gonna press it, using that parlay onto Jan. Jan will be able to stay alive. The route onto Darshan. Cloud9 cleaning up the scuttle, and they finally fought enough to win priority on this positioning for the Drake.
This is what we're talking about. Sometimes the threat of something is more impactful than actually trying to do it. As long as Harry was alive, Cloud9 needed to respect his damage, but as soon as he dies, he removes himself as a threat, and suddenly Team Liquid aren't able to continue the fight for the Dragons. Team Liquid still have a 5,000 gold lead, but as this game goes longer, this will get harder and harder. And watch a couple of things happen here. I want to highlight the Jhin that we talked about at the beginning of the game, because I was asking, how is this guy going to interact with a lot of these team fights? He has some range to play with, but he's not necessarily going to be interacting nearly as heavily, and he just throws out the curtain call, but he's only hitting relatively tanky members. He lands 3 of his 4 shots, I believe, onto Fire, and he's just kind of being tickled. But then it transitions. Once you start winning these team fights as the Jhin, you are suddenly one of the best AD carries at chasing people down, and here Team Liquid think they're winning. They think that they can take this team fight and chase everyone down, and Jan is very far forward as his AD carry, but they start to realize, wait a second, we're not winning this fight nearly as hard as we thought we were. We're going to have to get out of dodge. And then at this point, Jhin is kind of out of the fight. He can't really go back in. He doesn't have the HP to do anything. I'm expecting both Darshan and Harry to back away and teleport back into the fight, but instead, people are trying to corral people, and as we shift our attention to Harry, he thinks he can force them away. And if he just waits here and tries to push these guys away and force them to leave and go out bottom lane, Team Liquid could probably have done that, but instead, by committing his abilities, he's saying, I think this is the moment. And that's where, if you're wrong, you end up giving over all the objectives.
And Joshi, you were saying that Lissandra is a hard counter towards the LeBlanc pick. That last little interaction was a complete testament as to why. The root stops the double distortion, which would have been massive damage on an already low Cloud9. So a brilliant use of the Lissandra pick right there to make sure Harry can't get any more. And it puts Cloud9 in a position where they now can fight back, where their scaling is starting to come online. You can already see Darshan itemizing towards his 3rd item now. It is starting to look good for Cloud9, and they do have a fighting chance.
They do, and with King already picking up the Edge of Night, he has the spell shield. He's a little bit more resilient to people like Harry, who are so reliant on getting those spells to land. But you'll also have to remember, it's going to be increasing his healing as well. That scales with lethality now. So we're going to see King continue to get stronger and stronger over the course of the game, whereas Jan is really kind of at his peak right now. He's got Collector, Infinity Edge, and Gale Force, so he needs to be able to start blowing up a lot of these individual members, and unfortunately, he doesn't quite have the burst on this champion to actually do that.
I'm going to be honest, it's starting to look grim for Team Liquid right now. The scaling is working for Cloud9, as you have mentioned. Now Team Liquid coming back onto the Rift. There's a lot of vision for Cloud9 over towards this Baron side area, and you have to imagine either this Dragon that's been a constant team fight timer, or a timer, or the Baron is going to be the next major contest for both of these squads. I imagine Team Liquid would want to go for the Baron more than the Drake right now, just because of that timer that they're running on.
Makes sense. They really just need to take a fight that they know they can win, and this fight in a choke might be it.
Going after Darshan, but the rest of Cloud9 are able to show up in time. How far? Still decently high for the members of Team Liquid as they start their retreat. Armeo over the wall. Here comes the curtain call. Gets onto Isles. Isles is running really low. Harry over the wall with the distortion. Tries to get the Mimic, but it's not going to be enough to take anyone else down. It's only going to be Dokla falling with Cloud9 gaining control of the Rift. Still on the chase, though, waiting for the claw to come out. Copy goes in
Copy?
deep, but that is a questionable move. Armeo versus Darshan now. Darshan is very, very powerful at this stage of the game. Tries to come in with the barrel. Will not get close enough just yet. Looking for that final parlay. Sending Armeo deep into no man's land. Now Jan is caught by himself. Shut down by King. Cloud9 are completely dismantling Team Liquid right now. Dividing them and destroying them.
And the direction they're running makes it even worse. They're leading Cloud9 directly to the Baron as Armeo and Jan both go down. It's an impossible contest to be coming out from Team Liquid. They're going to have to give this over, and unfortunately for them, Cloud9 not only going to get this Baron, but they're also going to be able to back away and get to the Dragon in time. It takes 25 seconds if you just recall, but it takes even less than that now that you have home guards and the extra Baron recall that's going to be coming out. You know we're about to get another fight coming to the other side of the map, and Cloud9 may have finally outscaled Team Liquid.
They're in prime position right now, and it all started with this little engagement right here, and you can't really blame Team Liquid for going for this. Dokla was all by himself. It was a lot of time bought by Darshan for this to be turned around by Cloud9.
And this is, again, where we're looking at this Jhin. Like, he almost catches Isles on the backside, but he's not able to participate in these fights in the way like a Kai'Sa or a Samira would. Instead, they just have to run. I thought Copy might be dead here for sure, but Zhonya is very, very strong item. And while Team Liquid are expecting something to be coming out from Cloud9, they're expecting them to be chilling around the Dragon, and they can go towards the mid and maybe pick up an inhibitor. Instead, Cloud9 calls the bluff. They're saying, hey, there's no Dragon to pick up. We're just going to chase you down and kill you.
The Dragon now does go down. Armeo's able to grab the Drake, but the team fight is to follow. Armeo by himself in that pit goes right after King. Meanwhile, the route onto Copy to try and stop him from stopping Harry. Not going to get too much out of that one. Armeo so far deep behind enemy lines is going to run to the tower to try and stay alive. Will get an audacious charge, but there is the ultimate mowed down by King. It's going to be one kill picked up by Cloud9 as they start marching towards the base of Team Liquid.
The Dragon is nice to have, but it's not going to be doing them a whole lot at this point. Notice where Dokla is. He's trying to take an inhibitor because he knows they can't defend their own inhibitor. The only thing he'll recall for is if Cloud9 are trying to threaten the Nexus Church in the game.
A beautiful pillar comes from Suredfire, sets up a kill, the chain CC onto Harry. Nice play to come out. It's going to force the recall out of Dokla, but there's three members here defending. You got to act fast because Cloud9 are acting faster as they take down Jan, Ayla, fed to the Wolves, and so will be Dokla. One more shot goes through. Darshan claims that one, and Cloud9, they know the scaling game and they play it oh so damn well as they're able to make a comeback victory against Team Liquid Academy.
It is so hard to play Cloud9 in these long, protracted games. The amount of experience they have on this roster, the amount of just time that they've played on stage allows them to stay cool under pressure in ways that other teams can't, and they are so confident in their ability. Like, once they get there, they will win every time. And Team Liquid, unfortunately, were not able to drive the pace fast enough, and Cloud9 will come away with the Game 1 victory here in this best of 2 series.
That was pretty intense right there. Team Liquid were in the driver's seat for a lot of that. I did call their play textbook, which it was, but it was also very predictable. You stay in that lane for so long without accomplishing anything too major, and you just gave Cloud9 their window back into this game. We saw that with Darshan. We saw that with the Senna pick as well. It was gorgeous with the way how Cloud9 came back from that one. We're going to throw it over to short break. When we return, we'll get into game number 2 and see if that's just as spicy as game number 1 between Cloud9 and Team Liquid.